there. You can select the green, move that. You can right click, select the red. If I want to choose the red circle, choose red circle, I can move that layer. So basically it's just to get the practice of doing this. So right now we have, I'm going to turn off the reference image. Now we have a lot of layers in our layer panel, but I'm going to now show you how to group. Layers. And the shortcut to group is Control G. So Control and G to group. Now why is grouping it's like grouping is basically putting them in folders. So just like how you have your file explorer and you have your documents on your computer and you create a folder to store your documents so that you can be organized. It's the same thing with Photoshop. Sometimes, depending on the artwork that you're working on, you could have hundreds of layers. And you, as the graphic designer, you have to sift through all of those layers. It's very important that you organize your layers into groups where you can understand where things are. Not only that, let us say if you were to pass this work on to another graphic designer, he would now have to sift through all of your layers. And that may be a bit uncomfortable and time consuming, tedious. So it's very important that we know how to group our layers. What we're going to do, we're going to group all of the text layers together. So like the green, red, yellow, green, purple, blue, we're going to put that in one group. And we're going to group the shapes in one group. So to do this, basically it's easy. You just highlight, I'm going to select the layers that I want to put in a group. So I want to put blue text, so I hold on Control, blue text, purple text, green text, yellow text, and red text. So I select all of those. And I press Control G. And what that does is it creates a little folder called Group 1. And you see a little triangle beside it. That triangle will enable you to collapse and collapse and decollapse. Open it up and close it. So now we see where all of the text layers are within this group here. I'm going to rename this group. I'm going to call it text layers. So this folder contains all of the text layers, and here's the beauty about it. If you want to put elements in a group together and I turn off the eye, it can turn off all of the elements that are in that group. And you have the option of only opening it up and turn off what you want to turn off and turning it on. But if you want to hide an entire group, you can hide an entire group. All right, now I'm going to do the same for the shapes. I'm going to select, hold down shift. I want to select all of them. So hold down shift and select the first one, then select the last one and select everything. Press Control G, and that creates a second group. And I'm going to name this shape layers. So I double click on this, rename that shape layers, and press enter when you're satisfied. And this group contains all of the layers for our shapes. So this is very important. Even if the group is open up, once you can turn them off still. Or you can collapse them and turn them off. All right. So we have text layers, shape layers. Basically, you can even select the folder and go to your move tool and you can still move all of your elements them. Or if I select this folder here, with the move tool, we can move all of the shapes together. If I hold down shift and select both folders, I can move everything together. But you're probably wondering, what if I want to increase the size of everything? So what I'm going to show you, transform. Transform. Control T. Now what is transform? I'm going to show you. Basically, if you press Control T, you see what appears around it? A transform box appears around all. Because I have both folders selected, a transform box appears around both of them. Now, if I want to rotate this, if I move the mouse to the corner here, you see how the cursor changed to this little curve arrow. If I click and hold, I can rotate the entire transform. If I go to the end here, hold down shift and drag it out, that increases the size. I can press enter to confirm the transform of it. However, you notice what happened? You see how the edges become pixelated? That is what we're talking about when with raster. So it's not usually it's not a good idea. Whenever you create a shape layer, it's best to choose the right size, because once you rasterize the layer and resize it, rasterized images do not scale well. All right, so we know how to do transform, we know how to group, we know how to duplicate layers, we know how to move them around, we know how to use our text tool, we know how to paint, we know how to sample colors, we know how to organize our layers, rename layers. So there's a lot we learned from this activity thus far. Now what we want to do, we want to save this as a I'm going to save this. Go to File, Save. And notice here it says View Clear Watch with 5 circles for PSD. That's a Photoshop. Then click on that and then click OK. I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to share my desktop. Hold on. My desktop visible. No, it's not. Give me a moment. I'm going to share. All right, so you're seeing my desktop now, because what happened is that I just saved the file to the desktop. And if you look closely, this is the file here. See, this is what a Adobe Photoshop file. Whenever you see it look like this, PS, it's a Photoshop project file. And basically what happened is if I was to close this, and if I was to open it again, it would open it up with the all of the layers. See that? So now I can go in and edit and move and all of that. However, what if I want to save save a JPEG image? Because when we look at the instructions here, it says save your work as a PSD. So we do that. We save it as a remember, PSD stands for Photoshop document. That is the project file. What I'm going to show you to do next is how to export it as a JPEG image. Let's do that now. So we'll open up the file. We're going to go to File, Save As. Notice that I click Save As and not Save. Save As meaning I want to save it in a different version. Now, down at the bottom here, you have Format. You're going to click the drop down for Format. And now, we learn about the different type of formats for raster. So you have your Windows bitmap, you have your JPEG, you have your TIFF, You have PNG. So these are the different formats that are available. But right now we're going to choose JPEG, not JPEG 2000, but JPEG, this one here. You're going to click on that. And you're going to click. We're not going to trouble the name because once the file format, even if it's the same name as the project file, it will save it as a different format. So we'll click save. Now, whenever you're saving your JPEG images, it usually gives you this option to adjust the quality. So you have, when you increase this bar, and here, it's in the preview, what it's saying, it's showing you what the size is. So right now, the file of this size is 125.5 kilobyte. That is a very small file size. But because we just have circles, we have shapes and text, that's why the file size is not big. You see, if we were to start to include images, then that would increase the file size. But if you want a smaller file size, you can drop down the, if you want it in low quality, it bring down the file size at a lower quality. But we want it, I would put it up at maximum because 125 megabytes isn't really that much space. So we just buck it to maximum and click OK. And let us look where the image is. And as you can see on the desktop now,